So, as I was just talking about, super excited to have today's guest, Sherry. Welcome to the show.
Mm.
How are you?
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. And this is a conversation that I often weave into a lot of the episodes, talking about inflammation and the impacts of inflammation on so many things in the body, including our hormones and our gut health and our brain health. However, we're going to be taking a really deep dive into, not only the inflammatory component, but also the role that collagen really gets to play in all of this. So, welcome. And I want to just hear a little bit from you. What kind of prompted you to get so interested in these topics?
Well, like yourself, it's a personal journey. That's what brought me into practicing as a pharmacist with more of a holistic focus.
Yeah.
And when I was a teenager, I suffered for decades with an undiagnosed medical condition. It was celiac disease,
Okay.
which led me to suffer widespread inflammation, nutrient deficiencies. The food I was eat was poisoning me and I was covered with eczema and my health was really suffering. And it wasn't until they discovered I had celiac and I had to follow a gluten free diet, which at the time was really tricky because that was in
Right.
the 80s. It was not
Yeah.
so easy back then. But then I realized just how important nutrition plays a role in health and how if we give our body the right nutrients, it can thrive, it can repair, regenerate. And so that early experience as a teenager I took that with me when I went away to pharmacy school. And yes, I learned about how drugs can play an important role in managing certain diseases and especially for acute treatment. But in the back of my mind, I was always thinking there is more to it than just drugs. Vitamins, nutritional supplements, things like collagen, fatty acids, probiotics, they can play an important role. Diet, for sure, but also lifestyle like exercise and stress management, all those important things. So that's kind of what led me into pursuing a specialty in this area. And I find it really rewarding. I love
Yeah.
talking to people about ways that they can feel better. And it's not always, with taking a prescription. Sometimes it's just taking supplements or making lifestyle changes.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of time I see that where, there's certain root causes that have not been properly addressed. And if we're not educated on, the symptoms and what to look for and what is fueling that, whether it's emotions or it's emotional eating or it's, right, like issues with hormones or gut, how are we supposed to take those steps? So I love that you've kind of combined everything together. And of course, not that I ever wish for anyone to have like a personal experience where there's ever suffering, but it always leads us to more of our mastery and helping other people. So I'm so happy that you've, gained so much awareness and being able to find so much relief yourself. So we've talked, we've said the word inflammation, but I want to get your definition of inflammation. And I'd also love to hear why you think it's such a big issue today, because it really is. And I talk about it all the time. I think everyone's just walking around inflamed, and half of the people don't even realize what that is.
Totally. I mean, inflammation, we talk about it as though it's a horrible thing, a bad thing, but acute inflammation is not a bad thing. It's our body's natural response. And it's our immune response to injury. So you go for a walk, you trip and you fall, you hurt yourself, your body produces inflammatory compounds that come to the area to support healing. And so in a acute short-term situation, inflammation is not so bad. But the problem is inflammation today is often chronic, it's insidious. It can lead to tissue damage. Chronic inflammation contributes to things like joint pain, skin aging, fatigue, cardiovascular issues, metabolic problems. And I find that like many people feel older than they are because they have so much internal inflammation going on. Certainly, stress is a huge driver today. I mean, I talk to everybody I talk to is stressed,
Mhm.
right? Physical, emotional stress. And then what happens is this inflammation can make us feel older than we really are. It can affect our quality of life, our mobility,
Yeah.
how we feel. And, as I mentioned, like inflammation does cause disease. And when you develop a disease, like say it's arthritis or something else, you might need to take a medication. And then when you take medication, that can lead to sometimes more problems. So it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle. And I think we can't avoid inflammation altogether. It's
Mhm.
just about managing it from a lifestyle, nutritional perspective and doing what we can to support better health.
And why do you think that people are so chronically inflamed today, maybe compared to like 30, 40, 50 years ago?
Well, I think what we're eating has a big
Yeah.
impact on inflammation. And the food that we eat today is so different than it was, say, 50, 60 years
Yeah.
ago. Our food is so highly processed, so much sugar. There's so many refined carbohydrates, chemicals that our bodies haven't evolved to be able to even handle. I mean, it's very stark when you go to a grocery store in
Yeah.
other countries in Europe where it's predominantly fruits and vegetables and meat and dairy and here it's sad. I mean, the perimeter of the grocery store is very healthy and then you get all the stuff in the middle that is packaged, prepared.
hmm
And I think part of it too is people are busy today and they look for convenience and quick things, and
hmm
quick things sometimes are
Yeah.
grabbing a piece of fruit or some vegetable sticks, but the
Yeah.
packaged foods are a problem.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, there's big reasons why, in my opinion, why this has been allowed to happen because it's by design, of course, to make certain companies a lot of money. And
Hmm.
the sicker people are, the more money certain industries make. And so, of course, let's contaminate the food and get people inflamed. And so I think this is where knowledge is power and education is power. And yeah, you know what? People are busy, but I on this podcast hold people to a higher power of like, if you have time to scroll, you have time to watch TV. You have time to people please. You have time to boil some eggs, chop some carrots, right? And like your health, make your health a priority because you can either add years onto your life or you can delete years from your life and quality of life. So let's, I get people are busy, but let's also make sure that we are prioritizing our health because if we want to heal things like
Absolutely.
inflammation, we have to prioritize our health and be willing to change the way that we eat. Or
Absolutely. And I think, sometimes in our 20s and 30s, we take it for granted because for the most part, you might
yeah.
feel great and have energy and you don't have the joint stiffness. But I'll tell you, I notice myself even with every decade in life, 30, 40, now I'm in my late 50s, you start to notice changes. And I know I want to be independent, mobile, as healthy as I can be. And so I make those choices every day to try to eat as best I can.
Yeah.
Every now and then, of course, we're going to have our indulging moments,
Yes.
but if 80% of the time we're following the right path, then we might stray here and there.
Totally.
But yeah, it's. I think these are things, the decisions we make every day. And you make a really good point. A lot of people scroll and waste time on their phones.
hmm
You could spend that time doing some, quick food preps so that you have healthy snacks and things like that. I mean, food is for sure a big part. What we eat is a big part of aging and inflammation. Activities, as I mentioned, super important as well. Stretching, exercise,
Mm.
things like that, not smoking, because we know that smoking is an aging accelerator and causes a lot of inflammation and damage in the body as well.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for kind of breaking that down. And another thing that I see that really fuels inflammation from an emotional standpoint is suppressed anger and holding all of our emotion in and never expressing it. And a lot of that will live in the liver. And I see it with clients that I get on some liver support that all of a sudden they're like, I feel anger out of nowhere. I feel irritated. I'm like, oh, because you're clearing the suppressed emotion from your liver. And there's, certain resources that I've shared before that talk about how suppressed emotion will eventually fuel and amplify these physical symptoms. And so, not only is it important to, be aware of our habits, but it is important to be aware of the way that we're thinking and speaking to ourselves. And do we have healthy ways to process our emotions? Because,
Absolutely, it can lead to disease.
yeah,
Suppressed emotion.
yeah.
One of the books that I wrote several years ago, Saving Women's Hearts, one of the areas that I researched and wrote about was the impact of um, being negative, resentful, holding on to negative feelings, and how that can manifest and fester and lead to disease. Certainly, we
Mm,
know heart disease and cancer
yeah.
have been tied to, ruminating and holding on to anger and things like that. So,
hmm
yeah, I mean, we're all a work in progress. That's what I tell
Yes, I
people.
totally. And I love that you wrote that book. Definitely will make sure that we have that information because I think some listeners probably will want to check that out. So thank you for taking the time to create that resource. Now, like you kind of said, you've even noticed personally through your 30s, 40s, into 50s, like you notice certain things in your body now, maybe with inflammation, but as we quote unquote age, I really dislike that word, but as we go on in our life
Mhm.
cycle, how does this inflammation potentially accumulate or ramp up more easily?
Yeah, so I think as we get older, often life becomes more complex, right?
Hmm.
You get
Yeah.
married, you have children, you're trying to maybe manage a career, you've got dealing with aging parents, so there can be more stresses in life, more accumulated exposure to toxins in our environment. And all of those things can contribute to a real load on our system. Um, and when it comes to inflammation, I mean, certainly there's a lot of things that we can do to quell that by managing our stress, exercising, releasing things like that. Supplements can also play an important role
Hmm.
as well. And I think it's important to look at your nutritional needs as we age, they change, right?
Yeah.
What you needed in your 20s and 30s is not necessarily the same as what you need in your 50s and 60s. And one thing that really changes as we get older is collagen production.
Mm.
As we age, we start to lose collagen. I think it's like 1 to 2% per year is lost after
Yeah.
our mid 20s. And as we're losing collagen, our tissues they become weaker, less resilient. And that process over time can affect our skin, like how
Hmm.
start to lose elasticity. We start to feel our skin is dry and sallow, maybe more wrinkled, things like that. We get the effects of this accumulated inflammation, cytokine release that can affect
Hmm.
tissue repair and healing. So, as we age, unfortunately, there are a number of factors that might work against us. Women, we go into menopause. We have less estrogen as we're getting into that perimenopausal, menopausal time.
Hmm.
So inflammation feels more intense, more noticeable, and so that's why it's important, I think, to be very proactive, using everything at your disposal, from
Yeah.
supplements to nutrition to lifestyle strategies, to do what you can to ward off these effects of aging, and so that you can have that quality of life into your 70s and 80s that we all want, right?
100%. I totally agree with you. And I think, becoming more educated on our hormones, like you just hit the nail on the head, perimenopause and menopause, and understanding and tracking our hormones is incredibly important. How low is your estrogen? And what means can you take to increase it and support your body? I actually just recorded a podcast yesterday on low estrogen and its impacts on blood sugar and the
Mhm.
patterns of high glucose and insulin and inflammation, right? And so, women being able to have resources like this where they can educate themselves more and learn more about their bodies and what's going on internally, I think as well is so empowering because then we can also advocate for ourselves and figure out, what kind of testing to ask for and all that kind of stuff. So you've mentioned collagen.
Mhm.
And I want to talk a little bit more about it because it's personally one of my favorites. I've been using it for years, and I feel like you probably have as well.
Mhm.
Um, but I would love to hear more first about, for those that are maybe not sure what it is, what is
Mhm.
collagen and why is it important for skin and joint health? Because, like you said, it declines after a certain age.
Right, it does. Collagen is one of those things that as we get older, we have less of in our body, and we actually have increased needs. So collagen, it's one of the most abundant proteins, or the most abundant protein in the body, and it forms the structural framework of your skin, your tendons, your joints, your connective tissue, and you can think of collagen like scaffolding, or think of when you're building a house, you frame your walls with 2x4s.
Hmm. Oh, are you there?
Get older, we have less collagen, and that can be problematic. So, where do we get collagen? Because we everybody hears about it, supplement form. You can get collagen in small amounts in diet if you're consuming bone broth, if you eat meat with like animal skin, tendons, and things like that, fish scales. A lot of people don't eat those things,
No.
though, or they're maybe cutting the skin off their chicken because they're trying to watch their fat, or obviously in a lot of cultures, eating fish scales is not necessarily a popular thing.
Right.
So this is where one of those areas where, yes, you can get a bit through diet, but supplementing is really where it's at to get those optimal amounts, because if you take collagen in supplemental form and you take it consistently, studies show you can have healthier skin, less wrinkles, more hydrated skin, a healthier skin barrier. Um, and joint health as well.
Hmm.
Because as we get older, people notice their joints
Yeah.
become more stiff. You get out of bed, it takes a while to warm up. Sometimes your joints are really stiff in the morning. Collagen is one of the keys to help improve that joint mobility, the flexibility, to help reduce the inflammation as well. So, when it comes to taking collagen supplements, there's so many things out there. I mean, you go into a health food store, pharmacy, you look online, you're inundated with options. And this is where it becomes tricky. And as a
Hmm.
pharmacist, I've looked at what's out there and
Yeah.
I scrutinize the research and
Yeah.
the quality of products because we want to get a good return on our investment. So if you're
Yeah.
spending money on a supplement, you want to have a good quality supplement. So the one that I take, the collagen that I like, it's called Deep Marine, and this
Hmm.
is made by a Canadian company. Yay.
Hmm.
And it's highly bioavailable. So it's different from a lot of forms of collagen in that it has much smaller molecules that are much more available. And it provides like a wide range of benefits for skin health, joint health, and beyond.
Yeah, I love Deep Marine as well. I've been using it for years. I remember when they first came out. And it's so easy. I just put it in my smoothies. People mix it in their tea. Like there's many ways that you can easily add it into your food or drink.
Yeah.
But you
And
can
it doesn't have that fishy taste.
No,
And
exactly. People think, oh, fish collagen, like that must taste fishy. And I hate fish, and I can tell you that it does not. And so can
that's right.
Sherry.
I get that question a lot too, because, a lot of my friends are my age. They're in their mid to late 50s. And, they'll say to me, like, Sherry, what are you taking? What's your supplement
Yeah.
regimen? So collagen is key. And
Yeah.
I do often mix it into my morning smoothie because I have
Hmm.
protein as well.
Hmm.
And, I don't notice the taste at all and it blends well. And yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's making a difference.
Oh, 100%
I
it
mean, I
is.
feel it makes a difference. 'Cause that's a
Yeah.
great thing with collagen, right? There's a lot of supplements you might take, like say a multivitamin or other
Hmm.
things, and you're like, is this really working? You might not necessarily feel different, but when it comes to collagen, you start taking it, and within a few weeks, you do start to
Yeah.
notice the benefits
I
with
agree
your
with you.
joints. I would say the joint benefits come first, and then over time, you'll notice the skin benefits as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I really noticed my nails too got a lot
Hmm.
stronger after taking collagen for a while because they used to be really brittle. So many benefits. Hair, some women, I had a client and her hair was falling out. She started collagen and the hair loss stopped. So it's
Yeah.
nice to hear the positive effects of something that's just so easy to add into your daily regimen. Now you mentioned that obviously we want to look at quality and Deep
Hmm.
Marine is very high quality.
Hmm.
So do we want to talk a little bit about quality control just in general? Kind of like what
Yeah.
to look for?
I think quality control is really important when we're looking at supplements.
Yeah.
And I also have greater confidence that this is a Canadian product. There's very strict and stringent standards for products here. And this is a sustainable product. So for people that care about sustainability, deep marine collagen is sourced from sustainable fish. It's wild caught North Atlantic fish. It's
Hmm.
processed sustainably in Canada, tested in Canada to ensure purity, potency. And it's also important, I think, to mention what this does not contain. So, for people that have allergies or sensitivities, you don't have to worry about getting common allergens. It doesn't have
Right.
any sugar, dairy, gluten. I'm celiac, so for me,
Yeah.
gluten is always an issue. No dyes, things like that, no fillers, and that's important because again, you're spending good money on supplements. You want
Yeah.
the best that you can get and the most return on your investment.
100%. No, I agree. And I think that understanding quality is important and looking for some of those labels on and that it is not farmed salmon that is GMO or all that kind of stuff. It's just we have to be looking at our labels and doing our research because
Yeah,
otherwise you can end up consuming something that actually doesn't have any benefit or may actually, have like I was doing some research as an example on electrolytes and seeing a lot of electrolyte and protein powders with high heavy metal content. We don't want to be consuming something that's supposed to be
I
healthy
know.
and like having it deteriorate our health. So, that's why Deep Marine is so amazing because they definitely put the effort into
They
quality.
do. And it's a female led company as well, which
Mm-hmm.
I love. It's,
Yes.
women supporting women. I mean, this is collagen is not just a product for women, for any guys that are listening.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can take collagen for healthier skin, healthier joints. But we do see that women are the primary consumers, and whether it's they're just buying it for themselves, but also maybe buying it for their partners or
Mm-hmm.
significant other. So collagen is definitely a good supplement for guys to take as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And there's one thing, Amber, too, that, people often say to me, like, how does collagen work? Because people
Oh yeah.
assume that, you take it and then it just gets right into where it's got to go. You take a collagen supplement, it's delivered to your skin, or you take it and it's going right to your joints. But that's really not what's happening. When you're taking collagen, it's actually you're getting the peptides
Mm,
that provide your body with it goes to the specific cells that are involved in collagen synthesis.
mm-hmm.
It also helps to work on managing cytokine release and inflammatory mediators and things like that. So I just, that's a common question I get. People will say, well, if I take this, how does it know whether it's going to my skin or my joints? There is, what it does is you take it and it goes where it's needed. And this is why it's important to have something that is highly bioavailable, meaning you're getting a good amount in your bloodstream. And this, again, is one of the unique features, or I would say the special features with the deep marine collagen, is that they have smaller molecules. And these smaller molecules allow for greater absorption through the gastrointestinal tract, means higher bioavailability in the bloodstream. So those collagen peptides get to go to the cells that are involved in providing the support to those structures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for explaining that a bit more. You literally beat me to the chase with my next question. Um, yeah, because I know some people, when I've talked about collagen before, they're like, well, I'm hesitant to do a marine collagen because it's fish-based and beef feels more comfortable. But I think if you try it and you understand that it doesn't taste like fish and the molecules are smaller, so it's going to help on a deeper level with
Mhm.
inflammation, with joint pain, with skin, just give it a try. I mean, if you still prefer your one that you have at home, that's fine. But I've had a lot of feedback, and maybe we can talk a bit about that. Just any feedback
Mhm.
you've heard of what people have noticed when they've tried this collagen specifically, because like I said, for me, it was my nails that I really noticed the thickness and the brittleness going away with
Yeah, for
probably about
sure.
4 to 6 weeks taking it.
Yeah, nails take longer. People will often notice it first in their joints, as I mentioned,
Yeah.
skin. Nails take longer to notice the benefit, but yeah, I would say I've shared this with my mom. I've shared it with a lot of my friends who are in their 50s, and the feedback that I get is, wow, now that I see the benefits, I would never be without it.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you really do, again, it's one of those supplements that you take. And if you take it consistently on a daily basis, you notice that your skin feels healthier, more hydrated, more vibrant,
Yeah.
less joint pain, more joint comfort, more mobility. So those things are real. They make a difference and they improve your quality of life.
Yeah.
Women, we tend to spend a lot on topical products, right?
Hmm.
So if you ask the average woman, how much does she spend at the pharmacy or the cosmetics counter on creams and products? I mean, it can be hundreds of dollars, if not thousands a month.
Right.
And, I always say to women that that's fine if you want to put products on the outside, but what you put in your body is just as important. And there really isn't
Hmm.
anything that you can take orally that is going to deliver the results that a good quality marine collagen can provide in terms of helping with those fine lines and the wrinkles and the
Yeah.
hydration, more elasticity. So yeah, I would say that is an important thing to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. It is a really good point. Now, can you overdo it with collagen? Like, can you OD at some point? Or is there like you take it for a certain period of time and then you pause it? Or do we just keep taking it
Well,
indefinitely?
I would recommend keep taking it. There
Yeah.
is no upper limit that I'm aware of. For sure, you don't this. You want to take amounts that are based on what you see in the studies, like
Mhm.
5 to 10 grams a day. 1 to 2 scoops a day would be kind of the recommended amount. If you take 4 scoops a day, if you have maybe advanced arthritis or other inflammatory conditions, perhaps that's going to give you some greater benefits. But beyond, say, 4 scoops or 4 grams or 20 grams a day, I wouldn't say is going to be an exponential
Hmm.
increase in the benefit. One thing I would mention as well is when you're taking collagen, it's also important to make sure you're getting enough vitamin C either through
Mm,
diet or through supplements because vitamin C works with collagen. It helps with collagen synthesis. And a lot of people don't get enough vitamin C or
no.
optimal amounts. So it's an affordable supplement, something you can either take in powder form or tablets, capsules. And I would recommend taking that for sure with your
Yeah.
collagen.
Great. Thank you for that recommendation. Now, we kind of touched on this already, but um, incorporating it into the daily routine,
Mhm.
smoothies, drinks, any other ways that you like to suggest incorporating
Yeah.
it in?
Well, a lot of people start their day with a coffee.
Yeah.
And you can actually put your collagen in with your coffee.
Hmm.
So that is an option as well. Some people have told me they like to use their collagen, their coffee, maybe some oat milk and some cinnamon and kind of, make a fancy drink, something that you might get at a popular coffee shop, only better for you. So you can definitely put it in there. You can mix it in with yogurt as well. So people that have yogurt every day, sometimes I'll actually mix it in with my yogurt and then I have a gluten-free granola and
Mm,
dried fruit that I put on top. So that's another way that I've enjoyed my collagen.
hmm.
Juice as well. So if you like making your own fresh juices or even a store-bought juice, you can certainly mix it with juices or just plain water. If you're in a hurry, put it in a shaker cup with some ice and water and take your collagen that way. So it's really quite versatile. And I
Hmm.
think the fact that it doesn't give you that fishy taste or flavor makes it easy to integrate into a lot of different products
Yeah,
or
no,
different
those are great
formats.
ideas. Yeah. And one way I've tried it as well is in a pureed soup. So I make a butternut squash soup
Mm,
and just
yum,
mixing some of that in. It's just an easy way to get a little bit more protein in there. So
for
pureed
sure.
soups are another way, and chia pudding it's good in chia pudding too. So lots of different ideas
Yes.
depending on the listener's taste and what they like to just implement it easily and even maybe leave a little container of it if you work away from home. Keep a little container of it at your office, right? So that if you forget to take it at home, you can always easily implement it into something at work.
Yeah, that's a good idea because sometimes we leave, in a hurry in the morning
Yeah.
and or it's grab and go. So, or you can make your shake and take it with you, for your drive into work. But
Hmm.
the key is to be consistent with it. It is going to give you the best results if you take it daily.
Yeah. Okay. Consistency is the key.
Consistency is the key.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share about collagen, how to take it, the benefits,
Well,
inflammation?
yeah, so if we kind of just go back to some of the things we were talking about earlier, um, as we get older, inflammation starts to really take a hold of our body. We start to notice it in our skin. We start to notice it in our joints. So if you're listening and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, this is something that you can start at any stage. But keeping in mind, as you get past age 20, we do start to lose collagen. So
Mhm.
if you're finding that you're noticing fine lines and wrinkles, you want to be proactive. It's never too early or really too late to start taking your collagen.
Mhm.
And it's something that is very safe as well. People will ask me as a pharmacist, can I take this with medications?
Mm,
There are no problems. So if you mix this with your smoothie or whatever your morning beverage is, you don't have to worry if you're taking your other vitamins or medications along with it. There shouldn't be any issue unless you have an allergy to fish products, of course,
right.
because we're talking about the deep marine, which is a marine source collagen. So if you have allergies in that area, that would be the only, I would say, contraindication.
Right.
So yeah, I would encourage listeners out there to give it a try because I think this is something that when you try it and you start to notice the benefits, then you're like, wow, I can't be without this because I really feel great. I
Yeah.
wake up, my joints aren't as stiff, and I notice that I have less inflammation. I'm looking better, feeling better. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, it is a win-win. And, I always say try and see what happens and give it some time. Be
Hmm.
patient, and then be excited to see what kind of unique results you're going to experience
Yeah, it
trying
doesn't work
this.
instantly, so you've got to give it
Yeah,
time.
just
Yeah.
like everything, be patient, give it time.
Yeah. Couple weeks.
Yeah, totally. But maybe even like I always get my clients to kind of like check in on their symptoms every few weeks and say like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, 1 being low, where's your joint pain at this week? How's your skin feeling this week? Your hair, your
Mhm.
nails. And so maybe do a little check-in every couple weeks with whatever specific things you're kind of focusing on. And if you want to track your progress a little bit, that might be exciting to just, build that awareness of how
Yeah,
things
and
are
maybe
improving.
rate things on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10,
Yeah.
and yeah, give it a go. I mean, the nice thing too with collagen is this is not something that we theoretically think can help. There's actual documented
Mm.
science that marine collagen supplements work,
Yeah.
studies that show that it can help with joint comfort, joint mobility, reducing inflammation. So the science is there showing benefits for your joints, for your skin. It's easy to integrate into your life. And like you said, just, keep track of how you're doing and feeling. Maybe have a rating system, or you could take a photo of your
Mm.
skin before and then say 8 weeks after. Give it some time, but you will notice the benefits. 8 to 12 weeks is where the studies found when they did the research on the skin health benefits. They found that after 8 to 12 weeks of supplementation, women noticed significant improvements in
Awesome.
skin hydration, and yeah, healthier looking skin.
That's amazing. Yeah. And 8 to 12 weeks goes by pretty fast.
It
So
does.
be consistent, everybody, and give it a try. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a very enlightening conversation. Lots of good information. And again, just more validation that there's some really great things we can do to support our health, no matter where we are in our life cycle. So thank you, Sherry, for joining me.
Well, thanks, Amber. Thanks for having me.